Welcome to This Explainer. If you've ever stood there staring at a $6 pint of organic strawberries, kind of scratching your head and wondering if you're actually buying better health or just falling for some really good marketing, you are definitely not alone. We've all been there, doing the mental math right in the produce section. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to break down the actual science, the concrete benefits, and the real reasons why millions of people are totally shifting their buying habits toward organic foods. We'll turn that overwhelming grocery trip into a really clear journey of understanding and separate the actual facts from the empty buzzwords.
Right off the bat, let's tackle the central question, the absolute elephant in the produce aisle. Are organic foods actually worth the extra cost? Look, the markup on organic food is not trivial. Depending on what you're buying, organic products can cost anywhere from 20 to sometimes 50% more than conventional ones. We all want to make the healthiest, most responsible choices, but hey, we also have household budgets to stick to, right? To figure out if paying that premium is actually worth it, we need to completely understand what we're actually paying for when they scan that barcode.
Just imagine walking through your local grocery store today. You are completely surrounded by this massive sea of green labels. It's not just tucked away in some tiny, dusty corner of the store anymore. From fruits and veggies to dairy, meats, and literally an entire aisle of packaged snacks, the organic designation is absolutely everywhere. It's a visual bombardment that makes you pause and ask, okay, what do these labels actually mean? Is it just an upscale branding exercise, or is there a fundamental difference in how this food is grown, how it impacts our planet, and how it interacts with our bodies?
So let's establish our baseline. What does organic actually mean in a strict regulatory sense? Well, it simply means the food was produced according to incredibly tough farming standards, rigorously enforced by government bodies like the USDA. These standards legally prohibit the use of synthetic pesticides, artificial fertilizers, GMOs, and certain growth hormones. Basically, it's a system defined just as much by what it leaves out as what it puts in. It's a rock-solid commitment to a specific way of farming, giving you the assurance that your food was grown without relying on the massive catalog of synthetic chemicals that modern agriculture usually leans on.
And because they can't just spray away their problems with synthetic chemicals, organic farmers have to get incredibly creative. They essentially have to work in tandem with nature instead of trying to overpower it. So, instead of using artificial fertilizers, they use crop rotation, which keeps the soil from being stripped of its vital nutrients year after year. They use composting to build this rich, living microbiome right in the dirt. They bring in natural pest control, like beneficial insects, and really push for biodiversity. The whole goal is to build a robust, self-sustaining ecosystem that naturally fights off disease while still giving us delicious, high-quality food.
When you put these two farming methods side by side, the nuance here becomes brilliantly clear. Conventional farming follows incredibly strict safety standards and produces food that is entirely safe for all of us to eat. It simply permits the use of highly regulated synthetic pesticides and fertilizers to maximize the harvest. Organic farming, on the other hand, leans completely into alternative, natural pest management systems and severely restricts those synthetic chemicals. It's just a totally different approach to the exact same goal of feeding people. For a lot of us, choosing organic just provides that extra layer of reassurance, a proactive way to shrink our daily chemical footprint.
All right, let's dive into Layer 1, the personal health perks.
So the absolute most recognized, tangible benefit of buying organic is the immediate drop in your daily exposure to synthetic pesticide residues. Now, while conventional produce is heavily regulated to be safe, those chemical residues can sometimes linger. And here's the tricky part. Some pesticides are systemic. That means they're actually absorbed through the roots and become part of the plant itself. So it's not just something you can easily wash off the peel in your kitchen sink. A lot of health-conscious folks just prefer to minimize their cumulative intake of these synthetics over their lifetime, and organic gives you a very straightforward, regulated way to do exactly that. But hey, it's not just about what you're avoiding, it's also about what your body might actually be gaining. Research shows us a pretty fascinating biological reality. Some organic fruits and veggies might actually offer a slight nutritional edge. Because these plants are grown out there without the chemical safety net of synthetic sprays, they have to naturally defend themselves against bugs and the weather. And to fight off those threats, the plants naturally pump out higher levels of phytonutrients and antioxidants. And we all know antioxidants are absolutely fantastic for you. They act like a shield, protecting your cells from the oxidative stress caused by free radicals. What's really practical here is figuring out which everyday foods actually give you the most bang for your buck with these plant compounds. We're talking about your daily staples: berries, leafy greens, tomatoes, grapes, and sweet peppers. These specific foods get highlighted a lot because they usually have super thin skins, which makes them way more likely to absorb and hold on to external substances. Now, the overall nutritional difference between conventional and organic is usually pretty modest. But prioritizing the organic versions of these thin-skinned, colorful foods, that might just give you that tiny, natural nutritional advantage we were just talking about.
Moving right along to layer 2, the global impact.
Zooming out from our own plates for a second, choosing organic has some pretty profound long-term implications for the world around us. Honestly, a lot of people make the switch purely for environmental sustainability. Healthy soil is literally the bedrock of our entire ecosystem. Under organic management, the soil acts like this giant, dense sponge, holding on to water during droughts and actively pulling carbon out of the atmosphere. By boosting biodiversity and drastically cutting down the synthetic chemicals running off into our local water systems, organic practices help create a much more balanced, resilient planet for future generations. And for those of us who prioritize ethical production, that organic label carries some serious weight when it comes to animal welfare. Organic livestock standards say animals have to be fed organic feed, sure, but they go way further on living conditions. They are required to have outdoor access, meaning they actually have the space to engage in natural foraging behaviors. Giving them a more natural living environment drastically lowers their stress and cortisol levels compared to super confined industrial settings. It's a choice at the register that directly supports more humane, responsible food production.
Now for the plot twist, the mindful eating effect.
Okay, this is a truly fascinating behavioral shift that almost nobody talks about when they're arguing over food labels. Buying organic often triggers this incredible chain reaction, a behavioral domino effect. It basically kicks off with the sunk cost fallacy. Because you're spending a little more money on organic items, you instinctively start valuing your food more. You start scrutinizing nutrition labels to make sure you're actually getting a good return on your investment. That awareness makes you want to cook more meals at home so you don't waste those premium ingredients. And boom, before you know it, you're entirely focused on minimally processed whole foods.
Which brings us nicely to the resolution, the foundation of good health. To bring this all back down to earth, we've got to look past the marketing hype, look past the shiny labels, and realize what actually dictates our health. Nutrition experts pretty much universally agree that there's a huge difference between the latest dietary trends and the true foundation of long-term wellness. Whether you're filling your cart with organic options or conventional ones, the real MVPs of your health are foundational habits. Eating a diet that's genuinely packed with whole foods, grains, legumes, healthy fats, quality protein, along with staying active, getting good sleep, and keeping your stress levels in check. That's the whole shebang right there.
Ultimately, building consistent, nutrient-dense habits is absolutely your best strategy. Organic foods? They offer amazing benefits, from cutting down pesticide exposure to environmental stewardship and a little bump in antioxidants. They are a fantastic, super powerful tool in your nutritional toolkit, but they do not replace the fundamental building blocks of a healthy lifestyle. Consistency is what creates lasting results. So the next time you're standing in the grocery aisle doing the math on those price tags, ask yourself, are you just buying a label or are you investing in a habit? What small, intentional choice are you going to make today?